How do you take your visuals in Cities Skylines 2 from this to this? Today, we are going to review the most important tools and tricks that I have found to tweak the visual appearance of Cities Skylines 2. Knowing how to work with these mods and settings is essential for you to get the appearance you want. We will explore 4 different tools that give you maximum customization. But before we do that, we are going to do something huge, something transformative. We are going to change the direction of Marathon Cove forever. This is something I have been planning ever since the start of the series. Once you see it, perhaps it will seem inevitable. We have built out the land immediately around the cove, but it is now time for us to prepare for the future and for the building that is to come, for the future downtown. We are going to build a new custom interchange between 2 highways, and this will set up everything else we will do in the series. For you see, we are working towards building a downtown, and we need to connect up that center with what we have built around the cove so far, along with our energy corridor. This is a fictional Southern California region, after all. What would it be without a big highway system? We need to clear out some of these roads and rail that came with the map. That should give us plenty of room to work with to lay out this interchange. This interchange will be massive. From there, we can start to visualize what the future will look like. One highway will come in from Marathon Cove and wrap its way around to the downtown. The second will also circle around downtown, almost like a bypass. Imagining this setup will help us plan for the future. I will place down some temporary guide roads that will help with this planning. We will imagine a major avenue coming into downtown and crossing this river. This avenue will be one of the city's major boulevards. There is some interesting terrain, so let's add in a tunnel or 2. From here, the avenue will transition directly to a highway spur, and this new highway will go right into the interchange we are building today. So let's sever the original highway and make a connection with the new highway. One complicating factor for this interchange is the rail lines running right through the middle of it. The interchange is also adjacent to our wetlands, which is another challenge. Let's go ahead and remove the rail line that cuts through the wetlands. This has been on our to-do list for a while. We can then try to bring in our highway line from the energy corridor to connect up with our new highway. The trick here is to get the curve just right. We are going to try this again, maybe even a few times, so that the curve is very smooth. As this is an overpass, we also don't want it to be too steep. We should try to keep the grade of the incline between 2 to 5% if possible. Bringing the curve out wider will help with that, but it also means the footprint for this intersection will be even larger. As this is a major interchange, we are going to try to keep everything to at least 2 lanes. We are also going to follow proper lane mathematics. When 2 lanes merge into 2 more lanes, we should have them combine for a total of 4 lanes for at least a stretch. Proper lane mathematics will help us avoid any unnecessary bottlenecks once the interchange is running at full capacity. If you are a fan of lane mathematics, please give this video a like. This gets us partially connected, but we are going to complicate this even further by adding 1 more new highway. This highway will also head towards downtown and will be our spur that circles around downtown as a bypass. It will eventually have some downtown exits, but it will take people off and away from downtown if they are heading elsewhere. This new highway bypass needs to connect up to the interchange. That means it needs all the proper connections to head out towards our Marathon Cove neighborhoods and to Marathon University. It also means we need even more lane mathematics, bringing in the lanes from the energy corridor and from downtown, along with our bypass road, all as they head out towards Marathon Cove. We can expect the bypass to have heavy traffic, so we will plan for at least 3 lanes in each direction. But we also need to think about the terrain here. Not only are we working around the train line, but we have these small hills. Giving those hills a wide berth gives us a really nice large footprint and also makes it look integrated into the landscape. We can bring the lanes from the energy corridor towards the bypass. We will put these down right onto the hills. Once again, we want to make sure that the grades are very reasonable and not too steep. This brings us to a new challenge. We now need to create the most complicated connections in this entire interchange. We need to create the flyover, connecting our downtown highway and our bypass to the energy corridor. Both of these will need significant elevation to get over the other bridges. Since they need height, it means we must pay careful attention to their grades. We are going to raise both of these connectors to around 20 meters above the interchange. We then need to make sure our lane mathematics are in order as we bring them over. They can merge as part of the flyover, reduce their lanes, and then merge again. Organizing all of these different highways requires extensive checking and double checking to ensure that all the directions are properly connected. Once I have made a connection and done the merge, I often like to redo it. The first time, it helps to make sure we have the general angle and slope and the space to do it in. Then the second time is to make sure the curve is as gentle and smooth as it can be. We can redo the flyover, for example, making sure it has an elegant curve. Each part should feel graceful. We can then double count our lane mathematics to make sure we have the right number. But now we need to connect our two downtown highways. Someone coming from the downtown bypass might want to circle around to the downtown route after all. This will be a big hairpin curve. We will take our time to redo it to get the curve and the grade just perfect. But we also need the curve going the other way, and for that we will need to add in some extra merge lanes. These lanes will need height to make it over all the others. Keeping up with our lane mathematics ensures that we have all the lanes we need for merging. This interchange has a massive footprint. It covers a very large area, but it also helps us prepare for significant growth as we build up our downtown center, future suburbs, and farming zones. Now we need to clean up our rail lines. We remove the rail that cut through the wetlands. We also have the old industrial rail line for cargo trains. This industrial rail needs to be reconnected without going through the wetlands. It can run parallel to the highway using the natural elevation of the foothills to guide it. We can then bring it around and connect it with the rail that runs through the middle of the interchange. I have plans for this little area, including a future train station, a community, and some agriculture. For now, we just need to get the rail into place. As with the highway, it sometimes requires an initial build and then a redo to ensure smooth grades and curves. We can then remove the last little piece of rail from our wetlands. This should put us in a good place for our rail lines, and our highway interchange is basically done. But we can do a little detailing in order to make this distinctive. I said at the outset that today was about our visual appearances. We are going to cover a number of mods and settings that allow you to completely customize the game's appearance. When detailing, you get the chance to customize the appearance yourself. I have enjoyed using the various surface textures, particularly in a large open area like this. If we only saw the solid green grass texture, it would all look a bit bland. Using surfaces, moving from less grass to more grass, gives us the opportunity to customize the ground underneath the interchange. Adding in decals helps blend the lines. We can finish it off by completely covering this area with the small wild bushes and shrubs. I am still not satisfied with this stretch of rail line, and I think we can do better. If all else fails, just smooth things out in order to get the grade you need. I am very happy with this interchange and can't wait to see it in use. It will take many more episodes before we get this up to full capacity. But what do you think of this interchange? If you like it, I would love it if you gave the video a like and subscribed. With that, I want to turn to visual appearances and the tools you should use to get the most out of Cities Skylines 2. Let's start with the Map Texture Replacer mod. This mod has a great deal of power and has totally shaped the look of our region. The Map Texture Replacer allows us to change the look of the grass, dirt, and cliffs. You can see here that in Marathon Cove we use a combination of 3 different themes. The Vulturia map theme renewed is our base, and this controls the grass. So let's reset things for a moment and compare with the default textures. The default looks pretty good, but things can be better. The Volturia theme has some gorgeous underlying tones and textures that really make the water stand out. There was a period when we were using the entire Volturia theme for Marathon Cove. This full set removes the sandy color in the dirt and cliffs and makes the landscape look lush. Now let's compare a bunch of others that I installed from PDX mods. The desert theme gives you exactly what you expect. The Mediterranean theme has olive green grass and reddish brown hills. The arid theme keeps the reddish brown hills and gives you a darker dirt landscape compared with the desert. The Alpine has a bit more olive green in the grass, but the hills don't look like dirt. There are two Rocky Mountain options, one a bit more grassy and the other a bit more sandy. Lapland theme gives you that northern biome feeling. Brixton Bay offers some slate gray rocky cliffs. The Balkans have olive green grass and sandy dirt. Angra is a bit different from all the others, with some dark brown cliffs. Columbia Valley looks like it would be perfect for an autumn region. And now back to Volturia Renewed. For Marathon Cove, we keep the grass from Volturia, but use the Balkans for the dirt, which looks beautiful against the water. For the cliffs, we have been using the default textures. Together, these three texture sets create a unique setup perfectly customized for our region. But if you're going to customize the ground textures, you should probably also consider the water. The Water Visual Tweaks mod lets you do just that. You access the settings under the Options menu. Here, you can modify many aspects of the water. For me, the one that I have focused on most has been the color of the water. Most people will want to go straight to the scattering blue slider. Sliding this will allow you to control the water in a way that gives you a wide range of natural appearances. The closer the number is to 1, the more solid blue color you will have. Depending on the region you are in, something more blue might be very appropriate. By contrast, turning blue down to 0 will allow other colors, such as green, to come through. I could imagine maps that you want to play on where something much more green would be desirable. We have been playing with the blue scattering at 0.4. This has given us a nice aqua color. Adjusting the green and red scattering gives you additional options as well. Adjusting the refraction settings impacts the way light bends as it passes through water. Adjusting the refraction for each color allows for some additional levels of control and subtleties in appearance. Whether you want something more blue, brown, green, or whatever color is up to your preference. The third important visual tool is the Time and Weather Anarchy mod. You can toggle this on by clicking the button in the upper right-hand corner. This allows you to quickly change the settings from day to night based on your preference. By using the custom time option, you have complete control over selecting the time of day, giving you the precise sun and shadows you want. Changing the day of the year gives a further level of customization for the length and direction of the shadows. Under Weather Options, you can decide if you want to play in the springtime. Selecting summer gives the warm glow and green leaves. Selecting autumn brings out the golden and red tones on the trees. And of course, selecting winter allows you to play with everything cooled down. If you really want to play in a cooler time, enabling the custom weather temperature gives you maximum freedom. Here in sunny Southern California, where the sun always shines, we could turn the temperature all the way down and the precipitation all the way up to create an impossible winter blizzard. I don't normally play with clouds enabled in order to boost game performance, but we could turn them on, along with fog and volumetrics. The mod then allows us to set custom clouds, turning this into a major raging storm. Changing the temperature back to something warm will turn our snow into rain. We could then put our clouds at something a little less intense. Generally, I enjoy playing in all 4 seasons, but for Marathon Cove, I like to keep things in the summer and not have any clouds. While not present in Time and Weather Anarchy, you also have the ability to control the fog while in photo mode for the purpose of your pictures and cinematics. This lets you create some really spooky settings for your city and can reduce visibility to the point of near impossibility. For regular gameplay, I typically keep the clouds and fog disabled, as well as ambient occlusion. This keeps the visuals crisp and helps keep the game running at maximum performance. And this being Marathon Cove, a warm, sunny summer period is my preferred time to play. However, the powerful Lumina mod allows us to customize the appearance even more beyond weather, surface, and water. Lumina allows you to apply post-processing adjustments that can dramatically change the in-game visuals. Post-exposure is one of my favorites because it allows you to lighten up the game significantly beyond the base settings. Personally, I find the standard colors just too dark, so I have been playing with this at 1.05. The contrast is another important one to change. I have been playing with this turned down just ever so slightly at -2.47. The hue shift gives you some color control, although thus far I have played with this off. I can see situations in which I might want to adjust this. Saturation is one of the next most important settings. The higher the saturation, the more intense your colors will be. Some folks like to play with very vibrant colors, which will just make everything pop. But to me, this makes the game feel a bit too artificial. Turning saturation down to the 20s gives some nice strong colors, but they won't feel as artificial looking. You can see that many colors still pop, but without being cloying. Alternatively, you can turn the saturation down to a negative number if you want to create a more washed out look. This is a great look, and I think offers quite a bit of realism and grittiness to your build. Lately, I have been playing with my saturation around 8.2. This setting offers a small amount of color enhancement, but still has some of the washed out grittiness. None of the colors appear too saccharine. The temperature lets you adjust the white balance, making the light more yellow and warm, or more blue and cool. A negative number will put the light on the cooler side. This will give you a hipster and an Instagram-worthy look, or it might help your city look like it is in winter. Positive number will make the light more yellow and warm everything up. This is great to give the impression of a hot sun shining down. There really isn't a right or wrong here. It just comes down to personal preference. For Marathon Cove, I am playing with it only very slightly on the yellow side, at around 3.7 for just a subtle change. Adjusting the shadows, midtones, and highlights gives another level of control for the tonal range. Adjustments to the shadows impact the bottom quarter of the tonal range, whereas the highlights refer to the top quarter of the total range. Adjusting these impacts the amount of detail and depth in the game imagery. I have been playing with all of these slightly adjusted to ensure I can see plenty of detail, particularly in the darker parts of the game. This is a change from my earlier videos. I started using Lumina in episode 6 with the city in a cul-de-sac, and I feel you can see a significant improvement in the visuals then. I am curious what you think of all these adjustments. Do you like the base game visuals, or do you play with any of these mods and adjust the settings? Are you a fan of the slightly washed out look we have been using in Marathon Cove? I do want to cover one more important topic, which is not so much a specific mod, but rather a concept. This is called golden hour. Golden hour refers to the last hour before sunset and the first hour before sunrise. It is a way of describing the color and tone of the light from the sun that is warm, but also less intense. Photographers are known to covet the light during golden hour for magical looking photos. You can create golden hour settings using either the photo mode or using time in Weather Anarchy. For our purposes here, let's use the mod. To create the golden hour, use custom time and change it to around 6 or 7 a.m., depending on the time of year and your latitude and longitude. This will give you lovely, rich sun colors and intense shadows that enrich the look of the game. The time of day can be perfect for creating dramatic cinematics or photos. You can do the same thing for sunset, finding a time in-game around 5 p.m. or so, depending on your location and time of year. If you enjoy seeing your city during golden hour, be sure to like the video and drop a sun emoji in the comments. And if you feel these tips helpful, then I have another video for you to watch.